What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joined today with me is a very special guest. Again, y'all know when I can get black men on here to share their stories and share their narratives so we can share a different type of perspective, I'm always to it. I'm always here for it. I'm going to change the paradigm around black men and what we do with our families by showing y'all that the little gems of men that are out there. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself because I'm bad at introductions. So go ahead and tell them what's your name and what you do and why you think you're here.
My name is Eric Williams, and what I do is I'm a motivational, inspirational speaker and consultant, life coach, and I'm here to just impact lives and just tell my story a little bit.
Okay, what made you want to get into life coaching, impacting lives? Like, what inspired you to go there?
Man, it's been a long journey. What's really inspired me to go there is just I feel like nothing is a coincidence. You know what I mean? So the things that we go through in life prepares us for what I feel God is preparing us to do. You know, what our purpose is in life. You know, people take things differently. You know, your attitude, your perspective, your mindset really determines on how you take things and what you do with them. So with all the things that I've been through in life, all the adversity, the challenges, and even the blessings, I just feel like blessings aren't just for me. Not even my trials and tribulations are just for me. There are people out there that need to hear what we've been through. You know, the things I've been through is not just for my benefit. You know, the good and the bad. There are people that are going through some storms right now. You know, and they need to hear how to get out of it. They need to hear that it's possible to get out of it. You know, and I feel like that's what my purpose is. It's been clear to me. You know, and it was really made clear to me the beginning of this year.
What are some of those? Talk about some of them. Like, what are some of the struggles that you had to go through that you know that someone could benefit? What was like one of your first instances of struggles that we all come to that point where we go through a storm, and then after we come out of it, we like, oh, that's why I was supposed to go through it. So what was your first explanation of one of those moments, I guess?
Oh, man, my first, sheesh.
There was probably many.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. And I can say one of the first ones would be a lot of the struggles I went through family-wise. You know, my mom, dad, you know, brothers, my sister, you know, but mainly I would say the first ones would be with my mom. You know, she's passed away now, about 5 years ago now, and she drank a lot. You know, she drank a lot, dabbled into some other things, and just growing up in that type of environment, you know, really taught me a lot. Really, I believe everything that we do is a learned behavior. You
Right.
know, so people can take bad things and learn to do bad things from them. People can take good things and learn to do good things from them. Or you can learn bad things and learn to do good things from those bad things, and vice versa with the good things, you know. So because of the stuff I've seen and been through and experienced growing up, you know, I made a choice, for example, at a very young age, never even taste alcohol. I never tasted alcohol a day in my life.
Wow.
You know, never smoked cigarettes or anything like that, you know. So some decisions I made at a very young age due to, I guess I could say, the trauma that I went through, you know, at a young age. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my mom was the bomb. You know what I mean? My mother's my mom, and we had our issues, you know, like any family does, you know. And I love my mom to death. And there's a lot of regret that I have also that I didn't have the relationship with my mother that I probably should have.
Oh, wow.
Certain things that were said and so on and so forth. Yeah.
That's key to what you say. I feel like we hold our parents in a certain light where we're not allowed to feel a way about them. They're Superman. They're a superhero. Superwoman. Right. They were there, especially with me, with my father not being as consistent. I had my gripes with my mother, but I overlooked them. And then as I grew older and became a man, I started to realize the differences that I didn't like about her, but I didn't want to confront them. And then after a while, the more I grew and started growing into the person that I wanted to be, the more her flaws stood out to me. And I wanted to combat them. and then that's when we get ahead. And in my book, most people that read my book, that's where that most of that story came from. And then I realized it was like, man, your mom is your mom, man. You only get one of them. And off this fact that she was the only consistent provider in your life ever, you have to give her the benefit of doubt of her flaws and everything. So
Right.
even if you have this minor flaw, her good outweighs her bad 10 times. So
Right.
I'm happy you touched on that about like you wish you would have had a different relationship with her, because a lot of people with their parents, they don't realize the impact of like, you know, being able to build that adult relationship with your parents.
Yeah, and you're so right with that, man. And one thing that I touch in some of my videos as well is, you know, when I talk about parenting, is, you know, some people put, like, especially our kids, you know, because I was a victim of this, you know what I mean? Like, and now that I'm a parent myself, and I think my dad jinxed me, you know, my dad used to always say, boy, I hope you have kids just like you. You know what I mean? But one thing I learned being a parent myself, and I have a 25-year-old
Okay.
that's in the Marines right now. And our relationship is kind of strained, you know, due to some perceptions and things that he even has. So it really woke me up, you know, to some things. And it just really made me realize, like, this parenting thing does not come with a handbook.
Right.
You know, it doesn't come with a manual. You know,
Right.
And me, I was a parent, at 17. What
Right.
the heck does a 17-year-old know about life, responsibility, let alone parenting?
Right.
You know, so if I can give any message even to kids or even adults that still have a gripe that they're holding against their parents, is you got to understand they're human, you know, and that the things that they did to raise you was all that they knew. Like I said earlier, everything that we do is a learned behavior, you know. So it's either that how I raise my kids is probably either stem from, like I said earlier, the good or the bad things of how I was raised.
Right.
You know, I took those things and depicted them the way I depicted them,
Right.
and chose to do that or not do that to raise my kids. And along the way, I made some mistakes, you know, and we, as a parent, we have to be willing to accept that and realize that, you know, it, like I said, there's no cookie cutter way to parent. Everybody's different, you know? So yeah, man, it's like you really get into it. Like, it's really touching me right now, even talking about this stuff, just reflecting, you know, on my relationship with both my mom and my dad, especially my mom, and even thinking about the relationship with my oldest son. And I have a 13-year-old now that's struggling academically, you know. And I even had some people ask me, like, man, you're a life coach. You help so many kids, you know, in the profession that you're in. You know, you've helped so many adults and everything. How can you help so many people, but your own child, you know, is struggling, you know? And that the only answer I can have to that is, it's kind of like, you know, growing up when I was playing sports. My dad would always try to coach me on different things here and there, you know, with certain things. You know, my dad wasn't all into sports like that, you know, but when you're listening to your parents, it's totally different than listening to someone on the outside, because you hear your parents in your ear all the time. So you tend to tune them out after a while. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, man.
That's how it is. I had, that was one of the lessons I had to learn within my relationship as well. Like, and this is recent. My girl would used to come to me where she would be like, man, I gotta find somebody to like help me get motivation and inspiration, because I really trying to figure out this life thing and you know, get some clarity on helping my vision for my future. And I'm looking around like, you know, this is what I do, right? Like, I have a mental health podcast. I have coaching and clients. And I almost took offense to it. But like yourself, I had to realize you get tuned out when you hear that stuff all the time, and you need a new version of that, of the same thing, because we all saying the same thing, especially in this motivational, inspirational space. It's the same things, but they package differently. And some packages appeal to different people more than others. So I had to learn that, through, like, exactly what you said. But you brought up an interesting topic that I wanted to dive in on. As far as your oldest son, what I guess I don't even know the question that I'm trying to ask, but you touched on how you feel about the relationship. Is there anything you're doing to try to improve it? Like, put it like this: you're coaching somebody that has that same struggle that you're going through. What information would you tell them to fix their relationship, or try to give them tips, tools, and tricks to help with that relationship?
Oh man, that's a great question. What I would tell somebody in the same position as me is, number one, like, everybody's faith and belief is different. That's my number one thing. Okay. My faith is in God, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I committed my life to him. You know, that's me. You know, so the first thing I would ask them is if they're a believer, you know, because I don't want to push my faith on people either, you know. Now, if they ask questions, I'm going to let them know. You know what I mean? I'm going to let them know. I'm going to spread the gospel to them, you know, but I'm not going to push it on them, you know. But that's my first thing. Are you a believer? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus Christ? If they say yes, then I got an open door to go into that first and foremost.
Okay.
And yes, so first and foremost, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that at the end of the day, this will all prevail for his glory, you know, and that one day my son will see what I've been trying to show him all this time. Okay. And he will one day get the information that he's been seeking. And maybe even one day give him the courage to ask, because he doesn't even want to talk. He doesn't even like to talk about it at times. Okay. You know, so it's been like that. The second piece of information I would give them is to not give up. Continue to try to communicate, because I've seen so many parents just give up. They say, well, shoot, he's 25 now. You know, if they're not communicating with me, he's a grown man. Then why am I going to keep trying if they're not going to try? You know what I mean? And some of it I understand, because I'll be a lie if I say I didn't have those thoughts go through my head. You know, I'd be a straight liar, and I don't like lying. I believe in integrity. I build myself on integrity. You know, but my Bible tells me that no seed goes unplanted, you know? So as long as I keep trying to communicate with my son, I keep telling him that I love him, even if I just shoot a text to him or a message or an email, or I try to call him and leave a message on his phone if he doesn't pick up, you know, that's a seed that's planted every single time he sees that text message or that email or hears my voice on his voicemail telling him I love him, I miss him, you know, I want to talk to you, I want a relationship with you. Like, and as men, we struggle with that. You know, we struggle with being emotional, with being open like that, to be vulnerable, you know. And that used to be me. He'll tell you, man, like, my skin is probably one of the toughest out there, and I got roadblocks, I got brick walls up all around me. My wife would even tell you, you know, like, for me to even propose to her was a struggle for me, you know, because I didn't want to be vulnerable, you know, because I've been hurt through so many things. Like I said, the issues I've had with my mom at the time, as you could probably tell, also played into that, you know. So man, we never stop learning, you know. But so that would be the next thing I would tell them, is just don't give up, you know, can keep that relationship open. Let them know that you're still open to a relationship with them. And after that, there's really not much more you can do after that, because the communication is severed pretty much. If they're not communicating with you, there's not really much you can do. You know, now if that son is communicating back, but every communication is a hardship or an argument, then you can give more advice based on that. You know, but every situation is different. It's hard to say what you would tell one person. You really have to dive in, and you know this. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but you know, you have to get information on that situation, you know, and to give good advice. You know, just like anything, you go to the doctors. My arm hurts. They're not going to just say okay and give you medicine. They want to know what the symptoms are. You know what I mean? What exactly is going on with you? Does it just hurt at night? Does it just hurt when you lay on it? You know, does it just hurt when you raise it up this higher? You know what I mean? They want to know the symptoms of what's going on so that they can properly diagnose. It's the same thing. Same thing.
What would you tell that person? And you talked a lot about a bunch of things that I wanted to get into. As far, especially with the Black family, I feel like it's a lot of black men missing for the Black family, and that's why there's such a disarray going on. I know, especially with my father, it was a lot with him where he was like, man, I still had to figure out my life. And I may not agree with his decision, but I understand it. And he was like, I would try to do things, but it was never good enough. It was never good enough. And mind you, I was given the little, or what I thought was good enough. And it was discouraging when you come with a little bit of effort and then someone keeps denying your effort. So it's like, I might as well not do. If I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't, I might as well not do. And at least I'll save myself some time, money, and energy. So I understand that. So what would you say to that Black father, that Black son, that are struggling or at the brink of breaking up or brink of just giving up. Because I always tell people you can fight for your childhood or fight for the relationship. It's easier to fight for the relationship than it is a child. I had to realize I was 21 at the time when we started rebuilding our relationship. He can't take me to Chuck E. Cheese. He can't take me
Right.
to the baseball
Right.
game. He can't take me to all that stuff. But we can build forward, moving forward. He just sent me some birthday money yesterday. My birthday was the 27th, and
Happy
that
birthday.
thank you. And he sent me some birthday money, and if I almost, and let me be frank. I'm sorry. I still want to get you to answer that question, but let me be frank. When he told me he was gonna send it, I instantly revert to that child of I'm about to get excited because my dad was gonna send me money. Then the grown adult in me was like, he's hurt you in the past before. He said that he was gonna do things before that he hasn't done. If he give it to you, great, woohoo. But if he don't use that and tarnish the relationship and use it against him because he didn't come through. Fortunately, he did come through,
right.
and I was excited about it because it was like, yes, you're starting to do what you say you was going to do. Or we are a little bit further on the trust train than we was before, and now I can give you a little bit more credibility the next time you say you're going to do something.
Yeah.
But going back
that
to
had nothing to do with the money.
And right. It was never even about the money, right? And you can use extra money. So talk about the person that is about to get to that brink of breakup or brink of discouragement of like, man, like you said, you're texting and messaging and stuff like that, and it's not being reciprocated. You can stop tomorrow and like, what the hell? What am I doing this for? What advice would you give to that person?
Right.
This portion of the podcast is brought to you by the National Alliance on Mental Illness. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, aka NAMI, is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. NAMI offers education programs that ensures families, individuals, and educators get the support and information they need. As an advocate, NAMI shapes national public policy for people with mental illness and their families and provide volunteer leaders with the tools, resources, and skills to save mental health in all states. Through their toll-free NAMI helpline, they are able to respond personally and provide free information and support. Lastly, they provide public awareness events and activities such as Mental Illness Awareness Week and NAMI Walks. I had the pleasure of working with NAMI last week where we talked to the correctional officers about the importance of mental health in the prison system, which was really exciting and really rewarding. I learned a lot, and I also, I guess, taught them a lot as well. So it was a very mutual value exchange, and I can't wait to do it again. For more information about NAMI, the link will be in the description of the show. And make sure you grab a We All Help Heal shirt as well, because a portion of the proceeds get donated to NAMI. And I'll put that link in the description as well. This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Shining the Light. In recognition of Minority Mental Health Awareness Month in July, the Advisory Council of Charles M. Finley Recreation Center in Philadelphia is hosting a mental health event on July 20th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The event is called Shining the Light. The purpose of the event is to shine a light on mental health within the Black community. The aim of the event is also to let people know that it's okay to go through mental health struggles and you don't have to go through it alone. It's also okay to seek out help and support to the resources available around you. There will be numerous things to do, such as participate in workshop, gather resources from DBHIDS, discussing the Philadelphia fights within the youth, and much more. The event will also have open mic and free food. There will also be professional speakers of color who will be there to provide their experience as well as information and resources to the audience. The event is free and you can RSVP on Eventbrite. If you type in Shining the Light on Mental Health within the Black community, it should pop up. I encourage everyone to RSVP that way so that it will be enough food for everyone. The link to the event will be in the description, and I should be in attendance, so I will see you there, guys. And I fully support it. I love any event that highlights mental health, so go check it out. The link will be in the description.
Man, and this is coming from my heart, man. And because like I said, I'm experiencing this literally right now. As we're talking about this, And then Father's Day is coming up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it's like I don't really hear from him on Father's Day like that, you know. So the advice I would give is honestly, like, this thing is bigger than you. You know, it's bigger than you. You know, you can't allow your emotions to get involved. You can't allow your emotions to start making decisions for you. You know, and if you really think about it, that's in any decision. You know, especially when it's come to your family, to your child. You know, you can't allow those emotions to deter you from doing what you know in your heart of hearts is right. You know, and like I always revert back to my Bible. You know, it's biblical for a father and son to have a relationship. You know, and it's what I want. You know, so sometimes we gotta really. What I would do is challenge their thinking. You know, what do you really want? Do you want to satisfy your emotions right now? Do you want to satisfy your ego, you know, and your machismo or whatever? Or do you want a relationship? You know, which one do you want more? Because that's what needs to win. That's what needs to win. Now, there are some people out there that can really, you know, detach from their child like that. I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, some people can really detach from their child, you know, and some people can't. I can't, you know, so that would be another question. Are you able to do that? You know, and if they say that they are not able to do that, I would thoroughly urge them to not give up. Don't allow themselves to make an emotional judgment call, you know, on what their future is going to hold. Because as you know, and we all know, and I'm sure people that are going to be listening to this or seeing this knows also, you know, we're all one decision away from anything. You know, and you can think of your past. There's one decision you could have made back in the past that would have changed where you are right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? This could be that one decision. You know, you got to think of stuff on that large of a scale. This is not a minor thing. You're talking about a relationship between you and your child. And then I would bring it to the perspective as a black man, you know, we got to stop this freaking cycle. This cycle needs to end. You know, we're giving people too much ammo, you know, and I'm trying to be politically correct here, you know.
You don't have
so,
to be. We
so
got the free. It's up to you if you want to it on your brand. My platform is open. Be free.
Okay. All right. Say no more. You know, so we got to stop giving, you know, white people. We got to stop giving anybody that bashes the African American race, the black race, you know, we got to stop giving them the ammo to shoot us with. You know, we're killing each other. You know, we're making a decision to leave our families. You know, we're making a decision to sell drugs to each other, to belittle one another, to not. I'm literally making a decision to not support that person over there simply because they're doing good or whatever the case is. Like, we got to get out of that crap. When one of us come up, we all come up. You know, we all come up, and we got to support one another. And I'm so passionate about that. You know, like, even on my Facebook page, if I scroll across somebody's timeline, and I don't care who it is, if I see them doing something positive, I share it. I share it only because I want everybody to see it, and I want to lead by. I got to practice what I preach also, you know, because I truly feel this. That timeline isn't mine. That's Zuckerberg's in them. They can stop me whenever they want to. You know, if you really think about it, my name's attached to it, so I'm gonna use any platform I can to edify, you know, people, the human race, but especially my black people, you know. And I say this all the time, I'm pro-black, but that don't mean I'm racist. You know, I'm not racist at all. I love all humankind, but I love my black people. And I want to see us get out of this crap. I want to see us get out of this stigma that we've been perpetuated in for the last, century, 2 centuries, you know, like, and it's up to us. We got to stop making excuses about where we're at now. You know, that we have the resources, the tools to edify and get out of this crap that we're in. You know, we got to stop. There's too many people out there that have made it from the gutter and is now doing amazing things, you know, for us to be continuing to use that as an excuse. You know, Jim Rohn once said, or was it Les Brown? You know, Les Brown, I think it was Les Brown. He said, you know, if there's anybody in the world that's done it, you can do it. And that really resonated with me. You know what I mean? Because it's so true. What makes that person better than me? You know, and I know it sounds like I'm going off on a tangent, but this all goes back to the advice I would give that father and son, mother and daughter, whatever, on that strained relationship. We cannot quit. We cannot allow this to perpetuate. We can't allow this cycle to continue. So I would urge them, I would critically urge them, okay, with passion, to not give up. Not give up. No matter how much everything in you wants to say, F this, screw it. You know what I mean? I'm done with this mess. They're grown. They can make their own decision. Don't do it. You got to show love. Love prevails every time.
What advice? What about the opposite end? We're gonna move forward from this, but the opposite end of it, the child that's trying to get the absent me. I was in that predicament where I was trying to reach out to somebody I didn't know, but they not really reaching back. Or the daughter that's trying to reconnect with their father, reconnect with their mother, and they reaching out and they can't connect with them because of whatever reason the parent doesn't want to receive that love that they should have. They're the one that's supposed to give it, but they're blocking off the connection. What would you give to that child that's trying, that grown child, because now they're adults that are trying to reach out to another adult who happens to be a parent?
I would give them the same advice. It wouldn't change. And that's one thing I feel, as far as I can call it my ministry or my life coaching or, my business, my practice, whatever you want to call it, I try to simplify things, and I think it's real simplistic. Like, I don't think it should be one way for the parent and another way for the child. Now, I do believe more responsibility falls on the parent, I do believe that, but I do think it's an equal responsibility between the parent and the child, to want to mend that relationship. That I don't think comes with a title. I think it comes with that. It's about the relationship. It's about wanting that relationship. And again, really asking yourself, what do I want more? Do I want to satisfy? What do I want to satisfy more? Which beast do I want to satisfy more? Do I want to satisfy this beast of my ego, and my pride, of not succumbing to, being vulnerable, or do I want to succumb to that beast who wants the relationship with my father, that wants the relationship with my mother, that wants the relationship with my son, that wants the relationship with my daughter? Which beast do I want to feed? And I think we all have to answer that question that's been through this.
But it's harder to try when I'm going to speak for myself, it's harder for me to keep reaching out to a person when you were the absent one. Why am I going to keep putting myself through the headache and you're the parent and I'm sitting up here trying to say, all right, you got a fresh start. We can rebuild this relationship now. And I'm supposed to keep trying. I know the answer because I went through it, but go ahead.
Yeah, bro, I went through it. Like I was saying, I wish I had more time with my mother. Me and my mom's relationship was strained big time. And one time she looked me in my face and told me she didn't care if I live or die. Okay? I was 17 years old, so I'm old enough to understand what this means. This is when my parents were about to get a divorce and so on and so forth. And at the time it hurt. It hurt so bad. I don't care if you live or die. Go ahead and live with your dad. It doesn't matter to me. And at this time, I made no decisions on where I was going or anything like that. She initiated all of this. So being immature at the time, 17, immature kid, I'm taking it for face value. You know what I mean? Screw her then. You know what I mean? Like, she don't want me in her life, then screw her. And I went years without talking to my mom, without talking to my mom. And then I started getting into the church. I started, digging into the word. I started being around people, good mentors, and, people that really started speaking life into me instead of this death that I was knowing, and I realized how important it was for me to have that relationship with my mom. So to answer your question, it's very difficult because it's difficult on both ends because you're trying to reach out, but you still have all this hurt inside of you, So in your mind and in your heart, you're like, why in God's name am I keep trying to reach out, when this person hurt me like this, and just like you're saying. So trust me, I know what you mean because I'm telling you, I went through it, and I feel what you're saying. But my advice, and they say hindsight's 20/20. I am now dealing with some emotional baggage, I guess you can say, because my mom is now no longer here for me to make amends. You know, so I'm telling people from personal experience that when my mom passed, was our relationship better? Absolutely. Way better. We were conversating, we were talking on a regular basis, but it still wasn't where it was supposed to be. And I regret that. I'm trying to tell you, man, I regret that. So my advice would be, there's nothing you can really tell a person that's feeling that hurt, okay, that's going to just make something click and say, you know what, he's right. Let me fight for this relationship. You know, there's nothing I'm going to be able to say. There's nothing you're going to be able to say. The only thing you can do is testify, tell them your story, you know, and hope that it makes sense to them, you know, and that hopes that when you're telling them from your experience and how you feel at this moment and how I'm feeling at this moment with my mom no longer here, you know, that people can understand that this is coming from a place of sincerity and integrity and true regret, you know, that they don't want to go through that, you know? So hoping that they can just hear that story and hear through the conviction in my voice and that I'm so serious about. This isn't a show, you know, this isn't something for ratings or likes, you know what I mean, or anything like that. This is truth coming from my heart, you know, and I really, truly wish that I had more time with my mother. So my advice, I would tell them that story and let them know, like, look, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make a decision. You know, you're going to have to make it. There's nothing I can say, just like I just told you, there's nothing I can say or do to make you believe what I'm saying, except tell you my story and just pray that you'll make the right decision at the end of the day. But I will say this, if you don't want to feel the same regret that I'm feeling, work your butt off to build that relationship, no matter how you're feeling, no matter how you're feeling.
Hey, listen, I understand. You know, speaking from experience, I know everybody that watched this platform, they know they watch me, my up and down relationship, the growth, the maturity from me and my father, and even through my book, like the growth and maturity from me and my mother. So I understand exactly what you're saying. It was something we talked about off air before we got on, and when we first met, just us doing work around in our respective fields. You told me a story, and I was like, that story has to really inspire us as men, especially what we is talking about a little bit what we already spoke about on this platform, how you had to fight for your kids and to get. Go ahead. I don't even want to ruin and surprise the story. Go ahead and talk about that experience and situation.
Man, well, this has a lot to do with part of the struggle and the strain that's going on between me and my older son. You know, that fight, that's where my fight began, you know, was with him. You know, originally raised Syracuse, New York. It's where I had my first child. And the mother would use him against me, okay? At the time, my mind was jacked up. I'm, you know, immature. You know, I had a lot of other things on my mind. You know, I was, you know, semi in the streets, so to speak. You know, but the only thing I truly cared about was my son, and she knew that. You know, I literally have been through, like I said, this was also the same time that my mom was telling me these things, and I was going through these things with my dad, you know, with my family. You know, so I was literally at a point where I truly didn't care. That's to turn that light back on. Where I truly didn't care, you know, where I truly didn't care about anything. But when my son was born, it was different for me. You know, everything changed. It gave me new perspective. It gave me something to want to live for, you know. And she knew this. My BM baby mom, she knew this, you know. So she would use that to hurt me, you know. So I would fight and fight for him. You know, there was a time when I took her to court, got, you know, visitation rights, so on and so speak. And that's when I learned that despite this court order, if she didn't open the door, there's nothing the cops can do. The court order meant nothing, you know? So I was at a loss, man. And I literally gave up. I'm not going to lie. There was maybe a couple years I gave up of trying, because this was after so long of trying to fight and fight, going to court, in and out of court, you know, about all this stuff. And I was just drained, you know, drained of all this stuff, you know. So I'll admit I gave up, you know, for a while, you know. And then this time, you know, as my son kept getting older and older, I come to find out that she was telling him that I died at one point. She told him I was dead. You know, before that, she would tell him that I didn't care about him, and, you know, I didn't love him, and, you know, just all kinds of crazy stuff, you know. And then when I started finally able to see him again, she would send him to my house, like naked, like, you know, remember the onesies back in the day? You know, the onesies with the foot and just the onesie pajamas, you know, she would send them to my house and those with nothing else on underneath, because she was doing that to hurt me to have to spend money on buying clothes, you know, for him, you know. And I told her, I said, that's not hurting me. I have a closet full of clothes when he comes over here. You're sending him over here naked, you know what I mean, in the middle of the winter, you know, like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like, and it was just inspired to hurt me. Anyways, I fought and I fought. You know, in 2001, I got offered an opportunity, which was a blessing from God, and I moved to Pennsylvania. You know, moved to Pennsylvania in 01, and started trying to keep, you know, contact with her and my child, you know, even though she was still not letting me talk to him, not letting me, you know, anything. So at this point, he's thinking I'm non-existent, you know, maybe dead still at this time, you know. And then when he was in the 5th grade, I get this frantic call that he's failing the 5th grade, you know, this, that, and the other, you know, will you take him? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Absolutely. You know, that day, that weekend, I drove back to New York, picked up my son, and he was with me ever since. But there was so much trauma
built up,
and so much probably even resentment that he had towards me, you know, that I wasn't even aware of at the time, because I didn't even find out that she told him that I was dead until years after he was already with me. You know, so I had no time to really work on this stuff with him and rekindle this stuff. I'm naive thinking that he knew everything I knew. You know what I mean? But that wasn't the case at all. You know, so I was blessed with that. God had that worked out. You know, while I was living in Pennsylvania, I had 2 other kids, you know, and was going through the same thing with their mom. And I'm like, God, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how to pick them.
right?
You know what I mean? Like, God, boy, you know how to pick the worst of the worst. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, you know. But went through the same thing, knocking on the door. She would try to take me to court for child support, man. Like, in my opinion, all she seen was money bags, man. Like, just using them for money. And you know, she's on welfare. You know, she's, you know, just didn't want to work, you know, whatever the case was. And like, when I started seeing things that was going on and hearing things that was going on, I'm like, man, you got to fight for your kids. You got to fight for them. So, and everybody cautioned me against it. You'll never win. You know, they'll never, and which is true. The statistics are totally against the man, you know, in these type of situations. Make a longer story shorter, I ended up taking her to court and ended up winning custody of both of my kids. So I ended up having all 3 of my kids, you know, having custody of all 3 of my kids. And it was just a blessing, man. Like, it was so awesome. So awesome. And there's a lot more in between, but I felt like the story was going on long enough, you know, but there's so many battles and stuff I had to fight.
Hey, no, I would encourage you to go. You got free form, because it's a lot. That's the mental part of it that we get played. It's so many conversations I have with brothers and black men about, you know, that narrative of why men ain't ish, why men ain't this, and why they not fathers. And it's because of situations like that, and where somebody like yourself can keep all that inside and not even put that out to the world. And then now you're painted with a bad narrative. So it's a whole bunch of stuff that people need to hear, because they don't understand the mentality behind all that stuff. A lot of reasons why men are not in their children's life is because of reasons like that. They don't like all of that stuff that they got to go through. Child support already killing my check, and you want me to come take this kid out, buy him clothes, do all of this stuff. And mind you, every time I talk like this about child support, and they think my baby mom, my girl, my fiance got me on child support. I'm with the mother of my children. They in my life, but I speak so passionately about it because I know a lot of reasons why Black families are broken is because of that right there. That situation right there is why it's broken. And they look at men and they just throw them out and say, oh, another one. Oh, another one that ain't Asian. It's like, did anybody ask me why? Did anybody take the time to try to understand why? Try to ask me? So when you say make a long story, no, make it as long as possible so that way they can understand that stuff. I really don't like it. And mind you, again, I'm with the mother of my children. I'm with them every day. I drop them off. I pick them up. But I do not like that stuff because it's a bad narrative being painted, and it makes me sick. That's one of my pet peeves, and I hate it.
Yes. Bro, like, I couldn't agree with you more, and you are so right. Now, granted, I will say this. I don't believe this is a large reason for it, but I don't think it's 100% of the reason. There are
100%,
some
you're right.
dudes out there.
100%.
There's some
deadbeats. And not to cut you off, I always say I'm not fighting for the ain't shit niggas, and I'm gonna be frank. I'm not fighting for the ain't shit niggas. I'm fighting for the ones like yourself who are trying each and every single day, but the odds just keep getting stacked against them, and then it's so much weighing down on you. You like, F it, like I'm done, forget it. I fight for them because people that want to be dads. Let me stop because I'm gonna go. And it's people that want to be dads that they can't be dads. And it's because of the strained relationship with the woman. And I love Black women. I love my woman. I love Black women. They're the backbone for everything that makes stuff work. But what we're not going to do is just one quote I always seen, and I'm going to leave it in here, is when women can't take care of their kids, they get government assistance. When men can't, they go to jail. And that's so true.
That is
true. Take them to jail. But go ahead. I'm sorry. That's just, man.
Brother, hey, bro, you're so right, man. And like, your passion about this is amazing because I'm telling you, I feel the exact same way. And you're so right, man. Like it really wanted me to want to quit, you know. And you know, you hear the people, the naysayers in the background. Oh, he's a deadbeat, and they just want to believe one side of the story, you know. Because you know, while you're going through this, she is talking in the background, you know what I mean? She's spreading these bad rumors about you, you know, as you walk around your own city, you know, where you're born and raised. So people are getting this bad perception of you, except for the people that truly are close to you and know the real story. But you're so right. Not many people at all really sit down with you and ask, what's really going on here? You know, why are you not in your kid's life? You know, and I'm gonna be honest with you too, that includes our kids.
100%.
That includes our kids.
I was coming to my dad with preconceived notions from even him just not being there, period, from the little stuff that my mom say, the little stuff that my sisters say. They never bashed him totally, but it was like, all right, you'll see. Like, they're setting it up for failure. So it's almost like, I don't even want to, I've already got a bad taste about this in my mind because of what they said. But after I actually sit down and talk with him, and not saying I agree with everything about it, like I said, 100%, you could have made different decisions, but I understand why you felt like you only had those type of choices, especially like yourself when you saying I was only 17. Like what 17-year-old can make the right decisions in that mindset?
Right.
This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Dear Beautiful Woman. Dear Beautiful Woman is a collection of poetry, prose, and letters about self-love and survival. It illustrates a woman's experience with abuse, love, freedom, and intimacy. The book is broken into 9 sections which details a different struggle and pain. Dear Beautiful Woman takes readers through a raw testament of self-discovery in order to find purpose in life, because the travel alone is a sweet escape from those too blind to see you. Here's a review from Melanie on Amazon. Dear Beautiful Woman was such a powerful book. It is the type of read that will make you forget about the world around you. It exemplifies the author's strength in overcoming pain and obstacles, both emotional and physical. The poem expresses true events of love, pain, abuse, vulnerability, and how it's okay to feel beautiful and have a voice and know your worth even when no one else does. It's a very powerful message from the author's heart that will have you feeling so many different emotions. It definitely is a must buy. The author of Dear Beautiful Woman is Erica Smith, who was on episode 26 of the Black Mental Health Podcast. So go check that out to hear more of her story, and also go grab a copy of Dear Beautiful Woman. The link will be in the description of the show, and make sure you leave a review on Amazon. It's free, and trust me, it helps a lot. And go grab Suffering into Success while you're over there too, and leave me a review. That's a good book as well. This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Black Kings Need Therapy Too. Black Kings Need Therapy Too is an initiative started by licensed social worker slash therapist Aaron Muller. Aaron recognized the need for the black men to engage in therapy. His daily focus is to empower, uplift, and educate black men on mental health. His goal is to continue to support and create a larger platform for black men to engage in therapy. Because he is a black man, he is able to identify with other black men who have microaggressions and have been stereotyped. He also can align himself with the feeling of how trauma in our communities attributes to anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorders. He is aiming to provide a culture where it is okay to say that I am a black man that struggles with anxiety and depression, but that's okay. To hear more of his story, check out episode 10 of the Black Mental Health Podcast. And if you want to grab a Black Kings Need Therapy Too shirt, the link will be in the description of the show. And if you get a chance to reach out there and tell him Brad sent you.
Yo, you're so right, man. And I'm telling you, like, and this is one of the things I struggle with my older son. Like, you know, I really feel like I said, it's just, even with our kids, man, and it's so imperative for everyone. Like, when you go into any situation, if you go in with a preconceived notion already, you're already defeated. That person is already won or lost in your mind. You know, there is no coming back from that. You know, unless somehow God opens their mind and gets them to see something different somewhere up the road. And that's what I keep praying for with my son. You know, there's so many things he just don't know, but there's also so many things he never even asked. He never even fathomed to figure out. You know, he thinks he knows everything. You know, he thinks he has all the answers. He thinks he knows why I made the decisions I did, or he may even think some of the decisions I made that I didn't make, you know, that he thinks I did make. You know, like, if you want the true story, you got to go to the source. You got to go to the source and figure it out. You know, you can't just go off of what you think. You were a child, you know what I mean? You just don't know. And like you said, you've been hearing one side of the story for so many years. You know, like, it's like when I work with juveniles. You know, I used to train my staff that, look, these kids are in here. We used to get the worst of the worst, man. We get them in there from rape to attempted murder. Okay, we in my time dealing with juveniles, I probably had about 4 or 5 kids that was in there for murder. Okay, at a very young age, and I'm talking about admittingly murder. Now, there's a lot of alleged, you know, but and one thing I used to tell my staff all the time, I used to train them, I used to try and drill this into their heads. You know, I said, you need to put yourself in their position. Okay, and what I mean by that is you may have had in your mind so much anger where you wanted to hurt somebody so bad. Okay, but you were taught differently. You were given different coping skills to deal with that anger. You were given different tools and avenues to go about to divert that anger into something else, so that you didn't take that anger, okay, out in someone else in a violent manner. Okay, what you have to understand is these kids weren't afforded that right that they should have had. You know, they don't have a father in their lives most of the time, like we're talking about now. Some of them don't have a parent at all in their life. They was raised by the OG on the block. You know what I mean? So you got to remember, like, you have to put yourself in their shoes. If you weren't given the tools to build a house, how could I expect you to build that house appropriately? You know, you might be able to use some glue, some strong wood glue, you know what I mean? But what weather is that house going to withstand? You know what I mean? So yeah, some of these kids they have good morals. They have good things really deep inside of them, you know, but it's built on sand. It's built with that wood glue. So when it gets tough, they go back to that solid foundation that they know of, which is that hurt, that pain, that safety net of violence, you know? So, and the other thing is their trust has been violated. Their trust has been violated by the people that they should trust the most. Their mom, their dad, their family member. You know, so if their trust has been violated by them, why in God's name should they trust you? You have to earn that trust. You know what I mean? And most kids are in our facility from, 6 months to a year, depending on what they were in there for. And how could you expect to truly change a life in 6 months to a year? If you really think about that, they've been going through what they've been going through, being fed what they've been being fed for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19 years. And you expect to just come in their life and put with a cape on and be their savior because you've experienced what you've experienced and you got some good words, you know how to talk. You expect them just to believe what you're saying? No, it takes effort. And I used to tell my staff, if you didn't know me how you know me, would you trust me? Like, you got to put yourself in their situations. You don't even trust people how you want them to trust you. So how could you put that on them? So, man, so like,
we could go on for hours about that stuff, man. And I'm gonna link to all your stuff so they can check it out to get more of your stuff and the stuff that you got going on, because it's very truly and inspiring. And one of the things you touched on, two things actually. My girl always say, you so patient with people, and she just said that this weekend, and she's like, I don't understand how you could be so patient. These are grown people and they got to make decisions. And I'm like, I'm only patient because I remember how it feels when nobody asked me why or not to be understood. I know exactly how it feels to be not understood. So I'm coming from a place every time of understanding before I judge. And then I can make the proper perception of a person once I understand them or try to, by what I'm going to give you the opportunity to F up, basically. My savior, my dad. I'm going to give you the opportunity to show you not a good dad. And then you're going to show you not, or you're going to show you are. And then now I'm going to start picking apart and putting together the stories that I've been told over time. And as far as, like you said, it's almost like we just don't have the tools. And if we had more tools, I just vehemently believe that we would do better if we had tools. I don't have tools to show how to be a good father because I didn't have one. I don't have the tools to find a job because I don't know how to even do certain things to get the job. I've been only taught a certain way. And it's almost like you got to give me at least half the time. The half of the time I've been living this way my whole life. You got to at least give me half that time to make a change, to unlearn all the stuff I've been doing. Like, at least give me a half the time. But I don't want to hold you. So my last question or last statement, and you can tie all this stuff in together, and make sure you guys follow him. His Instagram. We're gonna get the Instagram. Gonna be up here in the corner over. I don't know, somewhere. It's gonna be over top. But my last question is, what is your overall viewpoint, opinion, perception of mental health in the Black community, and also tie it into any parting words that you have for anybody that's listening?
So my viewpoint on mental health in the Black community. Okay. My viewpoint on mental health in the Black community is that it is it's very rampant right now. And I don't think some of it I don't think is due to true mental health.
Right.
Okay. I feel like, especially working with juveniles, I've learned that they diagnose our kids with so many letters and things, ADD, ADHD, DDD, all these different, diagnoses that they give kids. And one thing I've realized, once you actually sit down and get to talk to them, there's nothing wrong with these kids at all. You know what I mean? There's truly nothing wrong with them. So those are kids that actually get committed to the system. So now think about those of us that haven't been committed to the system. Then you go to a doctor and they do the same thing. They diagnose you with all these things. Now you're taking pills, you're doing all this stuff. Like, I'm a firm believer that I don't believe that I believe we're almost brainwashed to believe that we're suffering from things that we truly aren't, to keep us down, to keep us oppressed, to keep us thinking that we are not good enough to accomplish things that we are 100% good enough to do. You know, they say they think Einstein was a little crazy. You know what I mean? Like, if you really think about the geniuses of the world, you know, they all had, according to society, something wrong with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So who's to say that they were crazy? You know what I mean? Like, they're just different. They're eccentric.
They just look at the world differently than other people.
They look at the world differently. Absolutely. They're game changers, if you think about it. And this is one thing I also stress in a lot of my videos also. If everybody thought the same way, this world would be so freaking boring. There would be nothing new happening at all. You know, we would still be in the Stone Ages. You know, if you think about it, we wouldn't have the technology that we have. We have it because somebody had some crazy idea, you know, that friends and family probably was like, oh man, you're crazy. That'll never happen. You know, and now look, the world is being run by, you know, computers, GPS systems. Like, if you really think about the first person that was like, man, you know what? I think I'm gonna come up with a gadget that can, you know, pinpoint everywhere you want to go. You know, from
I said that about the airplane. I'm like, somebody said I'm gonna put a piece of metal and fly it, and it's gonna be able to carry
it. Yeah. Just think about that. When at the time it was abnormal. So that's the whole thing, bro. Like, we can't be subject to that. So as far as mental health, like, I believe that some people do have issues. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be naive to say that there isn't some true mental health out there, but I don't think it's on the scale that they make it seem. You know, because I just don't. I don't think it's on the scale that they make it seem, because like these minds that they're trying to oppress with these mental health. Kind of like what's been happening since the beginning of time. You know, there was some crazy person that thought something outside the box and just dared to prove everybody wrong. Despite all the adversity and all the opposition, you know, they just dared to do it. So as far as my parting words, I think we're the tools, bro. I think we're the tools. You know, you, me, every other Black woman and man out there, you know, every other human being out there that has a heart to truly see change, see this world, this country, you know, be a better place. You know, we are the tools. We have to stop shutting up, you know, and we have to speak up. We have to stop making excuses, you know, and we have to stop being weak-minded and going out there and get it. We have to stop believing the derogatory, negative things that are puked on us, you know, on all different forms of media and even in real life, and step out in it. So I believe we're the tools. And as long as we allow ourselves, because believe it or not, if we chose to come up and we just chose to come together, you know, and just look at this whole Nipsey Hussle thing. When he died, look at gangs coming together. Why does it take people to pass away, to die, for something like this to happen? That just proves that we have the ability. Like I used to tell some of my staff, when they do a good job, you know you just messed up, right? You just proved that you can do it. So now that's the level I'm gonna, yes, you just showed me your potential. You know what I mean? So you're gonna be held, you're no longer on this level. Your bar was just raised. You know, I always have high expectations. I have high expectations of every Black person out there, male and female. I have high expectations of every decent human being out there. I just wanted to see life change, to see racism go away, to see people all expose their full potential. It starts with us. You know, we got to have this attitude of no more. You know, no more bullcrap, no more killing, no more. We got to do it. We can't be afraid to go out in our communities and speak to these brothers and these sisters out there doing wrong. You know, like they said, if you can run a gang, you can run a business.
True.
You know what I mean? You can run a business. So
you can lead.
go out there and do it. Yeah, you got to believe in yourself, man. That's all it's about, is believing in yourself. And I will say too, I don't believe that anybody that's been truly successful done it on their own. Support is very much needed. So you need to surround yourself with people that are willing to support you, that have like-minded people. You know, that's what we got to do. That's just what we got to do.
Man, you spoke on a lot, and I don't want to hold you any longer and the listeners any longer. I try to keep the episode the same. So make sure you follow him and follow everything that he's doing. I'll put his information in the description of the podcast. And I just want to say one more thing before we close, that is the reason why this platform is existing for mental health, and not in the far end of mental health. I wanted this to be that barrier to say, like, or maybe something is really wrong with me and I need to go to the therapy, I need to go and seek mental treatment, mental facilities, all that stuff. Or is it some things, some tools that I'm missing to help? Because I was in that depressive state. I was in that aggression. I was in that suicidal, but I was able to start arming myself with all this knowledge and information and resources. And I slowly but surely was able to unlearn and divide all that stuff in my brain that led to those mental issues that I was experiencing. Mm-hmm. And that could have led to further detrimenting mental struggles. So again, I don't want to hold you. So make sure, and on that note, follow him, subscribe to the podcast, share if you like this. And remember that this platform has never been about replacing therapy. It's an alternative, and it's a place where people share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.